Hello there, YouTube. I am Necrostevo, and thank you for joining me for week number 1 in low-tier Mayhem. That is right, our first opponent here in the Mayhem is Endless Gadgets. The Indiana Sneaslers are coached by Endless Gadgets. Check out their information down below, and let's take a look at the matchup. You can briefly see the Pokemon that Endless has access to, and specifically you can see that he has access to a Terra Captain of Terra Ampharos and Terra Okidogi. Now with these Pokemon available, we have decided to bring a Scarflamigo, a Specs Gengar, a very nice bulky Bellibolt, a very nice specially bulky Tinkaton, and of course our Terra Poison Mesprit. Terra Poison is there of course to help throw off moves coming hopefully from the Okidogi, possibly the Tentacruel, and to a lesser extent something like the Grimmsnarl, and Terra Electric Flygon. Flygon here is going to be one of our primary win conditions because with Dragon Dance we can Terra into Electric, not have a weakness, and throw off very strong Electric type moves into his team, because his only other resistance to Electric is the Sandaconda, and we have plenty of ways to take care of that. Now I actually hit record and my computer froze, and so we're jumping right into the action here. On turn 1 we went for Ice Beam as he went for Taunt, and on turn number 2 we're switching it up and going for Mystical Fire. Taunt makes perfect sense here because Mesprit often carries Stealth Rocks, and I was hoping for that initial turn just to break a potential sash on the Electro Hisui. He does go for Volt Switch before I can hit him with the Mystical Power, but hoping that he would go out into Skarmory on the Ice Beam, I went for Mystical Power to break the Sturdy, and now I can immediately turn around and go for a +1 Thunderbolt into the Skarmory. If Skarmory stays in and it does not have the Type Resist Berry, it will absolutely be going down to this move. The other move that could have happened here is he could have doubled predicting that, but I think I would have still been in a good position, and we're able to pick up the very first blood here in this matchup. Now after this, I did expect something that could threaten out my Mesprit to come in, and we see the Okidogi. I was very tempted to just go for the Terra Poison right now, but it is a little bit early and I still wanted the opportunity to go for Terra Electric with my Flygon. Now this Mesprit has max speed, so I know I speed tie with the Okidogi, but he actually revealed that he was Terra Dark before this battle, and so not knowing if he would go ahead and use his Terra now and be immune to the Psychic type move, or stay as the fighting Poison type and then hopefully try to catch some coverage, I took a little while to think about it, and I decided to settle on U-turn. This will give me a few pieces of information. Number 1, if he outsped me, then that would mean that he's Scarf, because I'm timid max speed. Number 2, if he stayed in Terra, I'd be able to get some decent chip damage on him, and maybe be able to ascertain how bulky he is. Number 3, it just looks cool to stay in and go for the U-turn like that, so just style points. We do see though the Terra Dark pop immediately, and not knowing what he's going to go for, probably predicting a knockoff here boosted by the Terra. Bellibolt's going to be my best overall swap in. I could swap into Tinkaton to get the Air Balloon popped and to steal whatever item the Okidogi has, but I did decide to go for Bellibolt, hoping for the Paralysis with Static. Knockoff does functionally negligible damage, and here I did not want to go straight for the Volt Switch because we know that he has Sandaconda in the back. Another thing I could go for here is Toxic. That would help me hit the Sandaconda coming in, or I could get a Toxic on the Okidogi right in front of me. Finally, I could also go straight for Slack Off just to get back to a decent level of HP. Now that I lost my leftovers, I am no longer as long-term minded here with Bellibolt, but that is okay. We do decide to go for the Muddy Water as my opponent switches out, and we can see that he takes the opportunity to go out into the Electro Hisui. So It didn't end up mattering. I wish I had clicked the Volt Switch, honestly. But this is fine. It's a great mid-ground play by him, because if I had gone for Toxic, Electrode is fast enough to get in and off the battlefield before it takes too much chip damage. Now here, expecting a Leaf Storm, I was highly contemplating staying in and going for Volt Switch, because I could take the Leaf Storm, now that we have seen that he's Life Orbed, and allow something else to get onto the field a little bit more easily. But I decided to go for Slack Off, because if I ended up going for Slack Off, and he goes for Leaf Storm, I could get that HP back, and he does end up going for the Leaf Storm, which means he's going to take the Life Orb recoil, and he is one more Life Orb recoil amount from dying. The other thing that's important about the Slack Off is that Leaf Storm will lower the special attack of that Electrode Hisui, and so his next Leaf Storm will not be doing as much damage, and we can very, very, very easily take that hit. Now, I was considering an offensive swap here, in order to potentially look out for him dying to his own Life Orb recoil, and then me getting something stronger on the field. Belly Bolt is quite bulky, but it cannot dish out damage unless it has like the Electromorphosis ability powering up those electric moves. So we do take the opportunity to go out into Mesprit, knowing that if he goes for something, I can take it pretty easily. I'm happy that I didn't stay in and go for Slack Off again, because he did go for Taunt. And I have this opportunity to just go for U-turn here. If he tries to swap out and preserve that one last Life Orb hit, then I will get switch priority. And if he stays in, then I will be in the position of, okay, he KO'd himself to the Life Orb, and I have a pretty good neutral presence on the field here. The other thing that's nice about the Leaf Storm is that it knocks me into my Citrus Berry range, and so Mesprit is going to get to eat the Citrus Berry and get 25% of its HP back. So overall, didn't take too much damage from that play. It would have been interesting if I just stayed in with the Belly Bolt and attacked it too, but alas. Now here, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a turning point in the battle. My opponent has 2 Pokemon down. I have not lost any Pokemon, and overall we're in a pretty solid position. And he goes out to his Braviary Hisui. Now, this Pokemon has the ability Sheer Force, and it's also relatively slow at base 65 speed. My first move here is just to get damage on this thing. I didn't know if he would try to set up or if he would just be throwing off moves, but I just want damage, number 1. Number 2, I figured I could force it off the field with my Tinkaton, because Tinkaton would be able to take those special hits, or so I thought. So here we go for Ice Beam on the off chance he tries to bring in Sandaconda, and he goes for Tailwind. Tailwind, of course, is going to double the speed of his team for 3 turns, and that means this behemoth is in front of me with its Sheer Force Life Orb boosted attacks for 3 turns. What do we do in this situation? Honestly, the correct play would have been to just stay in with Mesprit and let it get KO'd maybe by a Hurricane or a Heat Wave or something like that, and then we could pivot in something from there. I decide to do a hard swap out into Tinkaton, which was completely unnecessary. My opponent misses his Hurricane, and then I don't punish the miss at all. Instead of just going for Gigaton Hammer, or even better, honestly, Knockoff, which would have probably not KO'd, but it would have taken away 60% of his power on his moves. Well, not 60%, just 30% from the Life Orb. I go for Stealth Rocks. Even Thunder Wave would have been a better move here. I thought for certain he was going to swap out. Fortunately, we are very specially invested, and so it functionally makes it so that it really didn't matter that he missed that Hurricane, because I didn't click the right move here. After seeing how much the Heat Wave does, I kind of go, oh, right, I don't have any swap-ins for this anymore. And I really should have taken that opportunity to hit it. If I had hit it once the Tailwind petered out, then I could have just finished it off with something very easily. Since I chose not to hit it and he did not swap out, I functionally got up Stealth Rocks for absolutely no reason, and now we're going to have to make some hard choices about who lives and who dies. I've been watching a lot of Epic the Musical lately, and I guess this is just one of those 600 men under my command here. I do go out into Mesprit on what I was hoping was a Psychic type move, because I figured he wouldn't want to risk missing it. And I was like, great, maybe it's a roll to KO him from this range with the Thunderbolt. And man, do I miss Thunderbolt and Ice Beam having 95 base power, because the 90 base power in this situation is just barely not enough to cut it. And so if I had just hit it with a Tinkaton, this situation would be over with. But he gets off another Tailwind, and now is when I have to decide who dies. So, unfortunate. Very unfortunate. Several misplays from me in that sequence. What should have happened here is that I was maybe one Pokemon down, and his Braviary would be KO'd. But now I'm functionally going to have to sacrifice 3 Pokemon. So, Mesprit goes down here, and let me tell you, I have some big feelings about those misplays there. After that, I decide, okay, I'm going to need Flamigo in the endgame. I'm trying to win with Flygon, so I can't go into either of those. And Gengar will also drop to a single move. So I have to hope that maybe Belly Bolt can live a hit. We are going to go out into Tinkaton maybe first here, just because I know I can sacrifice it, and I can at least try to hit him in case he misses a Hurricane or misses something. But from that range of HP with the massive amount of damage that I took earlier, there's no way. So now, finally, we're going to go into Belly Bolt. And I did have Special Bulk on it. It wasn't max physically defensive. It was more mixed this week. And I was like, okay, maybe I can take a Psychic from this range? Question mark. But spoilers, no. No, I cannot. So I end up sacrificing 3 Pokemon to this Braviary Hisui. And now what was a very strong early game has turned into pathetically weak mid-game, and we have some ground to make up here if we want to get back into this battle. So how are we going to do that? Number one, the Tailwind is gone, so his speed is no longer doubled. So I have 3 Pokemon here that very easily outspeed him. Out of these 3 Pokemon, what is going to make the most sense here? I decide that I don't want to go into Flygon just yet, because I do want to probably Terra that. Also, if I hit with it, I'm going to take a Life Orb hit, basically for no reason. And I also decide I don't want to go into Gengar just yet, because I don't want to be locked into a move and let something in for free, like the Okidogi on a Shadow Ball, or the Sandakan on a Sludge Wave. So we go out into our Scarf, Flamigo, and really here I just wanted to... I could have gone for anything. It really depended on what he had Scarfed in the back. I was not sure who he had Scarfed. But if he didn't have anyone Scarfed, I outsped his whole team. So here I do decide to just go for U-turn, I believe, because that would not only give me switching priority in case he decided to save this for a sacrifice for later. Of course, it would get KO'd on re-entry because of the Stealth Rocks anyway, but I just go straight for U-turn because it doesn't really reveal my hand too much here. He knows that I'm faster naturally, he doesn't really know my sets, and so I can take the opportunity to go right out into Flygon at this point, because now this enables me to either set up Flygon on something as I Terra and go for my Terra Electric, or I can just throw off a big Earthquake at this point in the battle too. Now Flygon is also max speed in this matchup, and that is going to come into play later on. Since Flygon's max speed, that means that it speeds ties with his Tentacruel. That does mean that I am going to outspeed Okidogi. However, Okidogi is relatively bulky, so it is unsure if I will KO it with an Earthquake from this range, and I definitely won't KO it with a Thunder Punch from this range. I do decide to go ahead and Terra at this point because Okidogi does learn Ice Punch, and I didn't want to risk him being Scarfed and going for Ice Punch into me because he would outspeed me in that situation. But a Terra Electric into U-turn would allow me to at least check to see if he's Scarfed. And then from there, the U-turn should do a good amount of damage, putting him into chip range so that even a Spec Shadow Ball should be able to KO him from that point. So we get the baddest bulb of all time on our heads. And now we are an electric type with Levitate, so no weaknesses. And he is pretty bulky because if he didn't have any bulk, that U-turn could have KO'd him. So we do see some bulk there, and we know that he's not Scarf with that too. Expecting Knockoff to come off here, I decided to go out into Flamigo. If I expected the fighting type move, then Gengar would be great. But I did not want to switch Gengar into a knockoff that was Terra boosted, because that would immediately KO my Gengar. And I don't really mind losing my Scarf, because I should still be faster than everything that he has, barring something like a max speed Tentacruel, or I don't know, a Scarf Sandaconda to prey on like the ground weakness or something like that. So here we have a couple of options. I could just keep on going for U-turn, and that is what I end up doing. I thought he was going to leave it in for sure, but I do get off U-turn here as he goes out to the Sandaconda. I was expecting heavy duty boots, we don't see that, and he takes a little bit of chip from the Stealth Rock, and U-turn damage means that he's very likely in range of a Shadow Ball from my Gengar. I also could have gone out to Flygon at this point and try to set up a Dragon Dance. Slightly risky because Sandaconda does get Dragon Tail, and dragons of course being weak to dragon type moves, and also that would force my Flygon off the field and into another random Pokemon, so a needless risk there. We're just going to go out to Gengar and go for the Specs Shadow Ball. The other thing that's good about Specs Shadow Ball at this point of the battle is that if he goes out to the Okidogi, it will get KO'd because of the Stealth Rock and being so low in its HP. The only other Pokemon that could take the Specs Shadow Ball is a Tentacruel, but even then it's a 2-hit KO, and he would have to 2-hit KO me back and I'd be faster. Normally, at least. This is a modest Gengar. Like, when I went Specs, I went all in on the modest Gengar there. Because if this were a remotely bulky Sandaconda and I weren't modest, then there's a chance that the Sandaconda could have lived it. Or even like an Assault Vest Sandaconda. I just wanted to make sure that I could throw off Shadow Balls and really hurt things. Now, Gengar is doing his cool little booty dance here. And up next we have Tentacruel on the battlefield. Tentacruel, I honestly am just going to stay in here and hit this. It could try to set up. Tentacruel does get some other setup options like Swords Dance, but I wasn't really sure what to expect from Tentacruel this late in the battle. I did figure that it was offensive, so I was like, maybe it's a Specs Tentacruel and he just wants to throw off hits. But Shadow Ball is going to do a ton of damage to him, and if I stay in here, he also can't spin away. And really, Gengar was my swap into the Tentacruel the whole time anyway. So he surprises me by being faster than my Gengar, which means he is jolly max speed. My Gengar just has enough speed to outspeed something like like a max speed Okidogi, I believe. You can see that Specs Shadow Ball is not quite enough to finish him off after he gets the Swords Dance off. Unfortunate, because now he's definitely faster than me, and if he has Swords Dance, that means that he will have Knockoff for an offensive option. Knockoff will be enough to KO my Gengar at +2. It also would be enough with like a Liquidation to KO my Flamigo at +2 as well. So I really have to rely on Flygon after this. I decided to just go for another Shadow Ball and not try to swap in anything and risk anything. So Gengar goes down, and that means we have ourselves a good old-fashioned speed tie. Base 100 versus base 100. And you know, that's just a coin flip. And that's okay because with my Terra Electric, I'm not weak to any Ice-type move. And I also ran the Calx even at +2. He basically would have needed to win the speed tie and critical hit me in order to take out my Flygon from this range of HP. We do end up winning the speed tie, so this battle has really gone back and forth on the seesaw here. Strong early game for me, strong mid game from him, and then the end game was just even here after he set up the Swords Dance with the Tentacruel. And so after that, his last Pokemon remaining is the Okidogi, and we know it's not Scarf because we outsped it earlier, and so we're going to be able to finish off this battle with a Thunder Punch. So thank you, Endless Gadgets. We get to go Terra v Terra at the very end of this battle here. I appreciate the chance to fight you on the battlefield, and I appreciate the mayhem that we were able to kind of wreak havoc here a little bit. But let me know what you all thought of the battle. We finally kind of break our losing streak. I'm not going to lie, guys. My head has been all over the place when it comes to battling. But I really wanted to fight against that, and the best way to do it is just to get back on the battlefield and Shia LaBeouf it. Just do it. So that's where we are, and thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful night. Goodbye.